There's been a situation with two individuals on the internet who have a disagreement over a video game. That's right. That's right. Say it isn't true. But unfortunately, it is. Recently, there has been some comments, accusations leveled at Bellular Gaming by Panda TV. And we're going to take a look at what Panda has to say. First thing I want to say is that I have no hard feelings towards Bellular Gaming. As a person, I want to make that very clear. But I think the style of videos so many people make these days hurts the game so much, and it's a huge issue. This was a one-take while live. Now, I want to say, also, before I get into this, I actually really like Ryan. It's Panda and Chinglish. Like, I like him. I like him a lot. I also really like Bellular. So this is kind of a weird thing, because like I actually am very friendly with both of these guys. I even met him at BlizzCon a couple of times, I think. And so, yeah, I've had nothing but positive interactions. Keep that in mind. And so I'm going to try to be as fair with this as possible. Here we go.
Panda here. I thought I'd make a video. I just watched Bellular's video for 32 minutes of him talking about the problems with WoW. And I think I need to address something. And I want to start the video by saying I don't have a personal issue with Bellular. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the content that he makes, and I'll explain why in this. But I want to make a video just real quick about this, where I feel like one of the bigger issues that we have with World of Warcraft, in my opinion, are people like Bellular. And I'll explain what I'm saying. Again, nothing with him personally. I mean more the sort of content that he makes. And I understand why he makes the content that he does. I understand that it's great for views. If I was a YouTuber and stuff like that, I'd do the same thing. Okay. But there is a lot of people that make so many videos absolutely shitting on World of Warcraft.
No, the guy is not like jail or anything like that. He's a really nice guy. He actually has lost a lot of weight. And so I'm actually really happy for him. That's great.
Warcraft and Blizzard every chance they get, right? And then you make a video like this talking about how they're scared to do design choices because of people like you.
Nothing, yeah.
And because of people that make content like him. They try and...
God, I wish Blizzard was scared. God, I fucking wish. I wish he was right. Please, I wish you were right, man. I do. Oh, God.
Do something. You make 9,000 videos absolutely shitting on everything they do, right? And talking about how, from your experience as a game designer or your experience as life like this, as someone else in the industry, this is what they could do better. And we pretend like one person could solve every issue that happens with World of Warcraft.
Well, actually, I think that in a lot of cases, I actually do think that we could solve them. And I think that I could solve them. And Blizzard agreed with me. That's why they implemented my idea into the game. So, in fact, there are a lot of cases where it is actually just that simple. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think that the problems in WoW are as much of a tangled web as people make them out to be. Like, for example, everybody wanted a vendor for Legion Legendaries on day one. And Panda... I have a very good memory. And I remember whenever you lost your spot on Nighthold progression because you were playing a Demon Hunter and the other Demon Hunter got the legendary ring and you didn't. This was 7 years ago. And I never forget. And if Blizzard had listened to us, and Blizzard had given us the feedback, taken our feedback and implemented that, it would have never happened.
Of course, Blizzard. Of course, World of Warcraft team are scared to do anything because there's so many views in absolutely milking every ounce of just every chance you can get, dumpstering on the brand and dumpstering on the game itself, right? And that gets way more views than what it does when something is positive. I agree. I think that World of Warcraft is in a very weird spot. I think Dragonflight is a wonderful expansion, right? I disagree with a lot of points that he says. I think the biggest problem with the game right now, personally, I think that the game is way too easy to gear. I think that the game clearly needs some sort of...
I can't speak to this, to be honest. I don't know if it's easy to gear right now or not.
of grind, and I don't say that as a
I don't
streamer
know.
POV. I say it as someone that's played MMOs since I was 14. I'm almost
I hear
38
that.
years old.
I
I
haven't
enjoy
really
there
played this
being
patch a
some
lot.
sort of grind in a game, as do a lot of other people. I understand it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I think gearing is way too easy. I think the game is way too easy to gear ults. Leveling is insanely easy, and that's fine, whatever. It doesn't have to be hard to level.
Yeah.
But I think that some of the statements that are made in this video are simply not true, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that it's very easy. It would be like me listening to my audience and then saying that that's how the game should be. You build a community based around the videos that you make. And if you make videos non-stop that do well every single time you shit on Blizzard, every time you shit on World of Warcraft, there are going to be thousands of people that comment on your videos and comment on the content that you make that don't even play WoW anymore, that have an opinion on WoW.
Is that wrong? Because, like, if somebody isn't playing the game, there's probably a reason that they're not playing the game. And I think their opinion of why they don't like the game is just as valid. Absolutely. Because they're still part of the audience. They're not out of the community. Do you want to know what happens whenever people aren't out of the community? It's a game like Redfall. Nobody cares about Redfall anymore. It's a dead game. The one bad thing to happen is that people that legitimately don't care at all, if people are still consuming content of World of Warcraft, they're still in the WoW community, even if they're not actively playing the game.
Point of my video
What's
is
Redfall? Nobody cares.
I think the bigger issue that we have are people like Belly that make a lot of videos shitting on WoW every chance they get.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blizzard give up on systems these days that maybe they shouldn't give up on, because we just rip them apart for it. I think Blizzard probably have an insanely hard job to do with keeping people happy. But that's just my opinion. There's a one take. I'm streaming, so yeah. Bye.
Okay, so number one, I do think that negative content... Well, let's actually look at value. Let's look at his channel and let's see how many videos are negative, how many videos are not negative. Right? I think that would be fair. Let's look at the positives and negatives. This is negative. My understanding, negative. Positive or negative? Pretty simple. So that's a negative. Azure revamp confirmed, positive. Is WoW the end? 10.0 the end. I'd say this is a positive because it's actually just talking about the expansion. 1 to 70 a few hours is positive. It's talking about gameplay. Patch 1.2 problem solved, definitely positive. WoW gearing just got fast, positive. New WoW expansion, positive. Illidan finally returned to Warcraft, positive. Blizzard finally getting it right, positive. The next year of Warcraft in a big league, positive. World of Warcraft South Seas, positive, and also positive. Blizzard took decisive action, so again, 2 positives. 1, 2. We can't show anything about the last X months. You know damn well over a year ago, every video was extremely negative. Well, why? So you're saying that, like, because the videos a year ago were negative, but I think that makes sense though, right? Because, like, for example, wouldn't it make sense because the game was in a bad state then, right? I mean, like, a year ago, that was like fucking... That was like, what, Korthia? No, it was a bit after Korthia. No, that's not true. That was like actually 9.2. Yeah, so that was like, I mean, Shadowlands was bad, right? So it would make sense that, like, and I actually don't think that's, because, like, what you're saying, right, is you're saying that his content has changed based off of the state of the game, which would imply that he's not farming negative content and he's farming content that's based off of the state of the game, right? Want to jump in comms and discuss? Yeah, sure. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, matey, how are you? If my sound is scuffed, I'm in Singapore at the moment, so I'm not on my normal setup.
It's all good, man. I just turned you down by 20%, so I think it should be a little bit better now. How you doing? It's been a while,
Yeah, sorry.
huh?
Yeah, it's been a long time. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Chilling. What makes you be over in Singapore?
My partner's visa just got approved, so we're moving back to Australia. So I'm over here. I got to give her mum money for like a dowry. So
Okay.
I'm pretty much over here giving her mum money. Yeah, like her mum's very traditional Chinese, so I'm like over here and I have to give her mum money
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is
it's,
incredible. I love it.
Like,
Holy shit.
here's money for your daughter. Thank you for letting me have her.
Yeah.
It's how it
Transaction
was explained
approved.
to me.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
So yeah, unfortunately, it's not cheap. So yeah,
It is what it is, right? Yeah.
In Singapore, the minimum is $1,888, but it's usually on the higher end, which is to $8,888.
I mean, for that's, I'd say that's still pretty cheap, right? I mean, like,
Yeah,
damn.
yeah, true. But you also don't even bother streaming on your main channel, so I think you got a bit more less worries than the rest of us.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Absolutely. But hey, you've been doing, like, didn't you do a long subathon? Your subathon went like forever. You were farming,
Bro, that was a year
man.
and a half ago. My stream is dead. Yeah, my
Holy
stream's dead, bro.
shit.
Yeah, I'm dying. Yeah, I'm going to kick next. No, I'm
Smart. Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, Eddie's over in Australia too. Just go over to his house. Yeah, hit him up.
Yeah, I'm moving to Melbourne. We're in the same city. I'll just go over his house.
Yeah, problem solved. And so anyway, so you made this this video about Belluar, and I figure, like, yeah, I mean, I know you, you know me, like, so what is the what are you trying to get at with this? Because you can see kind of what I was saying, right? Because you remember that legendary thing
absolutely.
with the ring, right?
Oh, look, I even just said on stream because I was listening, right? I said, look, I can agree. I'm not trying to say that every single system that we've talked about as content creators over the years that we're wrong about.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I can find things that I agree, right? The problem is, and I thought there would be a little bit more clarity from a content creator point of view that, like, this was a live, one-take, 3-minute video with no cuts that I did live on stream after watching a 30-minute video.
Sure.
The point that I'm making, right, I think that there are so many people, and if I'm talking too much, let me know.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are making comments about the game being hard to gear and stuff like that right now blows my mind.
Was that
because
what Belluar said?
You can no, but it was a part of the conversation, right? And I'm just trying to address the things that you just talked about a second ago. And I respect you for saying that, like, you don't play the game enough to know. Most people
with the current patch,
that are making that are making these comments simply haven't played Dragonflight. I can agree. I say it all the time on stream. I think that Dragonflight is a good expansion, but no one's playing it. I'm not trying to say it's some perfect thing to gaming. It is insane to me when people think that the game is hard to gear right now, because if you can literally log on, get geared in less than a couple of days, and you can gear alts even easier, right? Again, I agree with you that people that don't play the game can have an opinion, but to an extent. If you're going to sit there and talk about how Mythic Plus is, how the raid is, how the gameplay is, and you haven't played it at all, that expansion, I think that's disingenuous.
I understand that. So what did he say? What specifically did he say about, like, Mythic Plus or raids?
So, okay, so I think that it got a little bit warped because I did, like, a one-take reaction.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
I think it got a little bit warped.
I mean, I do the same thing.
Problem,
I understand.
Yeah, so I think my problem was more when you look at Billy Law's videos and many other people, and look, even you've literally said yourself in the years that you're a dickhead to devs. That you've said on social media that that's a part of your persona and just how you can be. Right? That's a fair thing to say.
Maybe I could have said that a little bit, but I actually think that I'm very fair.
I do. I agree with you. Don't get me wrong, I agree. There's a point to this, but I'm just pointing out that is something that you have said.
Well, I think
years,
that if you ask a lot of devs, they'd say I'm a dickhead. You'd right about that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm making is, because I don't want to exclude you from this conversation before someone says it, right? I think that there is a big difference between making criticism about the game and making videos that point us in the right direction. And a lot of people kept trying to make this point, which is why I wanted to talk to you. A lot of people kept trying to say, look at the last 20 videos that he made, only 2 of them are negative. That's fine, but I'm not talking about the last 6 months of content creation. And I think there is a big difference between creating videos that criticize the game in a good way, outside of calling developers, brain dead apes, and saying that people in the team are useless, and saying all these things about personal things about people that work for the company. And here is my main issue. Well, I said this earlier on stream.
Did Belluar say that people on the teams?
It said that, and other things in the past plenty of times.
Which
right?
dev
And there was even I couldn't say. I don't get that invested.
Okay.
Right. The point that I'm trying to make is I think that there is this. I was quite shocked that he took it to heart so much that I said that he makes very clickbait thumbnails and very clickbait sort of, content on the channel when there's a lot of hate based around it, because I don't think that that's that extreme to say, right?
Well, why?
I even
why
say
would
in the video. No, but this is the, I even say in the video and the tweet that if I did YouTube, I'd do the same. But I would do the exactly same thing. I'm not hating him on that for that format at all.
But you still are, though, because like, so if you say that somebody is doing that, what you're saying is that he's using thumbnails and using titles that are disingenuous and misrepresentative of what his real opinions are in order to garner viewership. Like, that's effectively what you're saying, right?
But even from my understanding, even a lot of his fan base pointed out yesterday that even he has said that during his podcast, and even some of the things that he does with his friend, that he's even said the same thing, right? He's even said that he rides the highs and rides the lows of World of Warcraft because it's very good for views, right?
Of course. Yeah, I mean,
of course, that's not the point. But the point that I'm making when he's going to try and defend that sort of stuff is, for me personally, I think you can criticize the game and you can criticize parts of the game without going towards like calling people brain dead apes. And I guess it boils down to this for me. I am not a big fan of the way that Bailey Law comes off. And look, it could just be his attitude. It could just be the way that he is in videos. I'm not a big fan that, especially since he started doing a game and creating a game, he has this sort of very, in my opinion, very egotistical way of responding to stuff where it's like, as a game designer, I know what would work.
Can you give me an example of that?
I mean, he said it plenty of times in his videos. Plenty of time and time again, right?
So I've watched a lot of Billy. You probably watch a lot of Billy videos too, right? I mean, like, I played WoW for many years. Like, I understand it. Like, if you stream WoW all the time, you're out of content. You probably watched a lot of his videos on stream, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. I've watched plenty of them.
I've seen a lot of them too. And I think that the only time that Bellior has actually taken a person by name and insulted them was during the Mike Ybarra situation, where he was trying to explain why stock pay cuts were okay and that it was affecting executives too. And these were leaked conversations that came from inside of Blizzard. And then Bellior said...
I remember the video.
Yeah, that's the only time that I can think that Bellior has ever named a developer or even used
it doesn't have to be just a developer by name, though. That's the thing, right?
I was about to finish. Like, so, like, what I was going to say is that was the only time as well that I think he has ever attached a genuine personal insult that could be construed as like an ad hominem, right? Something like, you're a brain dead ape, you're an idiot, you are stupid. Like, maybe he said stupid before, but I think that in a lot of cases he's probably referring to an action rather than the individual. Like, for example, like, this system is stupid, this change is stupid, but not necessarily the person themselves.
I personally think that there are plenty of times where, in a very snarky way,
right?
And I wish he was here, because I'm not trying to. I genuinely, my video wasn't me trying to talk shit. It genuinely wasn't, right? But I think that there is, even as someone that watches his videos, I think there is no way, shape, or form that you cannot say that there is time after time after time in his videos where he sits there with a very snarky sort of opinion of like, when you watch it, you're sort of like, he's almost implying that he could run Blizzard better than any staff member and he could do better than any dev team within the company.
Well,
which I think is, I don't think that is a far thing to say. As someone that watches a lot of his
Diablo
videos.
4?
Did any of us for more than a week?
Well, yeah,
I'm
but
not
you
talking,
played
that's
it a
the thing.
little bit, right?
But we're not talking about Diablo. I'm talking specifically about World of Warcraft.
Okay, so you want to get into World of Warcraft. All right. Let's talk specifically about World of Warcraft. Why
the main part of my whole video...
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. The main part of my video is I think that you can do videos that are very against WoW and very criticizing WoW without doing the whole sort of snarky, I'm a game designer, I know better because I'm designing a game.
So let me ask you something.
I think that's the big difference, right?
Do you think that you could have solved the Legion Legendary armor problem faster than Blizzard did?
I'll give you the example that I give chat, okay? Let's... A few years ago, my stream was doing okay, right? Compared to where it is now. Let's say I averaged between 800 and 1,250 viewers a day. For me, that was okay, right? The example that I give chat is this. In 12 years of streaming, specifically World of Warcraft full time, not once in 12 years have I ever come up with, or had chat come up with, an answer and an actual solution that everyone agrees with in 12 years. So I say this is a problem in World of Warcraft. A lot of us can agree this is a problem in World of Warcraft. And I say, okay, give me an example of a fix with an actual solution that everyone in the chat can agree with. Not once, even out of my small pool of people, has there ever been once where everyone agrees. Someone in the chat will always say, hey, I disagree because this. I enjoy this aspect of the game. I like this aspect. If you do that, that'll ruin the game for me. And I don't think this is an unfair argument to say back. I think it's very fair.
Well, I mean, couldn't you make that argument with the game itself, right? Like every single change, like what is something that everybody agrees on in life? Basically nothing, right? So I think that if you want to extrapolate that to video games, you can. But the truth is that this is something that's true with everything. Like if I say my favorite color is purple, then some people won't agree. If
That's
I say
a shit color, bud.
yeah,
That's
well,
a
there
shit color.
it
I
is.
hope it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, right? Is that like if people say the most important thing is family, there will be people saying no, the most important thing is legacy and, you know, like being able to make an impact on the world. And everybody has a different viewpoint on everything in the entire world. So I think that like saying that the Blizzard developers aren't making decisions and aren't acting on feedback because there's a subset of people that would not like the changes, I don't think that's necessarily fair. And the reason why is because that's something that would be the case with anything. It's like if you bring out an expansion, like Mists of Pandaria, that was something that they acted on that was very controversial. Every expansion is controversial for some amount of people. So the only way to avoid having people give you negative feedback for your actions is to simply not act. You literally can't avoid that. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're talking about WoW, whether you're talking about real life ethics, or whether you're talking about like making a video game itself. Like look at Starfield versus Skyrim.
But that also doesn't mean that just because you are a great example of this, right? You could literally sit here and say that the sky outside is black, and 90% of your chat would go, true, true. Any truers? True. This is true. Mm-hmm. Right? You know that that's how it is, right?
I wish.
If you build up a whatever that what's it called, like a hyper chamber of the
echo
most
chamber.
People in your chat, echo chamber, sorry. Most people will agree with the takes that the streamer that they watch have.
Do you think that's the case with your chat?
Absolutely. It's just on a much smaller scale. I'm not immune to this by any way, shape, or form. That's why I say, like, I think the video that I made, to me, I was quite shocked the responses to it, because I don't think I was being that out of line. If someone said to me that Belialaw makes a lot of like clickbait videos and rides the hate train and does like a lot of clickbait thumbnails, I would say, yeah, okay, so does a lot of other people. I wasn't trying to have some personal dig at him,
but you can see
in any way, shape, or form.
So like if you're a Belluer and somebody makes a comment about you like that, like what you're effectively saying is that you are effectively saying that he is disingenuous for money. That is the foundation and the essence of what you're saying. Now, whether
I think he definitely rides the hate train, but when it suits the YouTube algorithm.
Of course he
I don't think that's that extreme to say. But that's what I'm saying. Why is it so extreme what I said?
But
he rides the algorithm.
Is he on the hate train though?
Because that's what works.
But how does it work? How do you define working?
Because if he makes a bunch of negative videos, right? And you know this damn well, not even just him, right? Most of the time, a negative video, and especially when there's a lot of hate, we'll use the time with all the sexual predator stuff going on at Blizzard.
Sure.
Someone made a video about that, as they should. I know, I watched them all. I didn't watch them on stream. I got to react more, right?
Smart.
When all that stuff was going on stream, those videos got way more views than most videos.
Of course.
Right? So when the algorithm is pushing that sort of stuff, there are people, he was one of them, that are making video after video after video, just pointing out the hatred stuff and being as much on the hate train. His own followers, when you look at the comments of a lot of his videos from back then, were saying the same thing. They're like, dude, you're just negative all the time now. We get it. Again, this is the whole core of my video, and especially the one that I made afterwards, was it's not about criticizing the game, but there's a clear difference between criticizing the game and just jumping on the algorithm of the hate train and then making as many videos as you can. I don't think that does anything good for the game. I think criticizing the game is absolutely allowed. But I think there's a big difference
he
between
wasn't
that.
really criticizing the game; he was criticizing Blizzard. And also,
But that's one example of a video. There are 50 other ones, right?
Do you remember when that happened?
I think most of the stuff where I can remember from watching his videos on stream.
Yes.
Okay, I can remember there was like mostly through Shadowlands and whatever else was. What was after Shadowlands or before?
Well, I mean, so this happened, the sexual harassment lawsuit broke in somewhere around July to August of 2021. And this was also coinciding with the release of the Sanctum of Domination raid and the patch 9.1, which was Korthia, which people really, really didn't like. And I think that everybody was negative about World of Warcraft at that time. Mm-hmm. That was the time that I went back and I started playing Final Fantasy XIV even. And it was extremely popular to quit WoW.
So did a lot of other people.
Well, of course.
So did a lot of other people because you went.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, hey, if one person does it and it works, somebody else should try and do the same thing. That's just how Twitch is, right? And so...
But again, that's not a problem to say that. Again, this is the whole point.
Well,
I don't think I was saying anything out there. It's like somebody jumping into a
pool and saying, it's okay, guys, come on in, the water's fine. No, I understand, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But, like, my point that I'm making is that I don't think that it's fair for you to criticize Belluer for making negative content at that time, because the game was in probably the worst state that I would say it's ever been in.
And again, that goes back to
Would you agree with that? That in
absolutely. But again, that goes back to the whole point of why I made the video and the follow-up video. There is a big difference between criticizing the game and just sitting there, from my opinion, and this is only mine, not my chat's, not anything like that.
How do you define that difference?
Because I think there's a big difference between sitting there and having this sort of snarky attitude that it comes across, for me personally, again, this is a very personal opinion.
Yeah.
That you come across as if this very sort of egotistical attitude that you could fix the game and you could do better than every single staff member that works at Blizzard.
Well,
and I just simply don't believe that's true.
But you're not saying it as a personal opinion, though, because you said earlier that, like, in terms of Belluer using clickbait and things like that, you're presenting this as that this is an objective fact. Am I wrong?
Like, yeah, but he does though. I don't think that's wrong. I in my opinion, I don't think this is a way. I don't think this is a shot. I don't think this is an out there thing. I think that absolutely, just like most YouTubers, right? Go and type in tier list 10.2 right now and watch how many tier list videos are already out.
A lot of max videos
on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. That's clickbait. We all know that that's all fluff, right? But of course that's what you do. This is why I'm shocked that people are so, I guess, shocked by what I said, because I think me saying that people ride the hate train and clickbait videos and do thumbnails that are going to put people engaging in their YouTube videos, I don't think that's a shocking thing to say.
So the reason why I think people were giving you pushback for this was because you specifically, like, you named Belluer specifically, and there's also a recency bias of this, where a lot of Belluer's videos that you can admit, you've probably, I'm sure, pulled it up and looked for yourself at this point, a lot of Belluer's videos about Blizzard and about Warcraft are positive recently, and
that's because it's a good time to do positive videos. You have done content creation way too long. Like, so Chat might not understand, but you understand what I'm saying, right?
I do understand.
It is a positive time to reach positive videos.
Why is that though?
Because that's what's working. He's following again. He's following the algorithm right now because that's what's working for him.
But why?
I mean, he made a tweet the other day saying that his WoW videos aren't doing well.
I saw the tweet. I know exactly what you're talking about, but why is it working?
For YouTube, I couldn't tell you.
So you don't know
I couldn't
why?
tell you.
Okay, so then why were the negative videos working?
Because that was the thing at the time. There was a big thing at the time to really hate on Blizzard. We're talking about, like, the main part of it is when...
Well, what was the thing at the time?
Well, there was the sexual stuff at Blizzard. Right, obviously that was a big thing, and then he just continued down that line. It was every single thing that you could point out, and every single thing that you could make about dumpstering on the game at the time.
Well, I just want to let's pause, because, like, what you said basically is that the reason why it was popular beforehand to shit on Blizzard was because of the sexual harassment lawsuit, and also at the time.
Well, not just that. The game was a shit show. Let's be
right.
Yeah.
So, like, what you're saying is that the game was bad. So Belluer was making content about the game being bad. That's effectively
I
what you're
think
saying.
that again, I keep saying the same thing. I think there's
Yes.
a big difference between saying the game is bad and then having these types of videos where you're shitting on every single person that works at Blizzard
And I
and
understand,
implying that you could do it better.
and I
I think
understand that, but
that's where it keeps going back to,
okay,
right?
so then let's go back to what I said originally. Do you think that you could have come up with a solution for Legion legendaries faster than Blizzard did?
No, I don't think so. Not that made everyone happy.
Do you think that you
Okay,
could have
so-
come up with a
okay,
better
so-
solution than the rotating vendor for corruptions in Battle for Azeroth?
Okay, so let me use that as an example.
Okay.
All right, corruption vendor comes out the day of release.
Yes.
You've got your BIS corruption in 2 weeks. What do?
Play with them.
Okay,
And you don't
then
get your
in a
best
month you're bored.
Well, you don't
Right?
get your best.
Again, I'm not
assault
trying to
corruption.
defend corruption. I'm not trying to.
Well-
I'm not trying to defend corruption by any means. But I'm going to say, like, I think one of the bigger core issues of World of Warcraft right now, and this is sort of out of the conversation that we're
Okay.
having, is World of Warcraft is becoming a seasonal game, in my
It
opinion.
is, and I don't
for
like
a lot
that.
of people, they're fine with this. For me personally,
Yeah.
I'm not. And my opinion would be the same whether I'm a streamer or not. I come from Dark Age Camelot,
you're a
International
grinder.
Ragnarok
Like, yeah,
Online,
I know that.
Lineage 1, Lineage 2, right? This is before I was a streamer, all those types of games, right? So for me, I don't mind there being some sort of grind in the game. I think there not being a grind at all right now is a huge issue, right?
Okay.
I interviewed Ian last year and I said the same thing, right? I don't think it needs to be some world first grind or anything like that, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. But I think it's a bit silly right now where we have this this thing where it's it just isn't working with there being nothing for us to hold on to. Because if you do want to play World of Warcraft past a couple of weeks, a lot of people have nothing to do.
Well, you say that they don't really have a lot to do, and I think that this is, and I think this is kind of what the problem is, really, with like a lot of this conversation is that, like, what you're criticizing Belluar for is saying that he thinks that he has solutions for things, and what it seems like is that you disagree with what those solutions are, is that you don't think that those are good solutions. Because like
I don't
whenever
think
you're
that
talking,
one sole content creator can come up with the solutions. That's more my point. I don't think one person, you included, myself included, I don't think any of us can sit here and solve an issue that would make every single player that plays this game happy.
Do you
and the
think anybody
implication
could?
that he does.
Do you think
no,
anybody
But the
could? Well, then
implication that
what's
he does a
what's
lot
the
of the
point?
times in the videos is he does. He comes across, to me personally, again, this is just my opinion. I personally think that the way he comes across in a lot of his videos is that he thinks that he can. And I think that he's well aware of that.
I think that a lot of people could, to be honest with you. Like, for example,
You think one person? You and I argued on stream in front of 45,000 people once that you think looking for raid should be taken out of the game.
Yes.
Do you remember this? And I disagreed with you in front of 45,000 people, and your chat was very much.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and your chat was very much the same that they are right now, right?
Yeah.
And we both ended up agreeing that the casual player base is what's kept World of Warcraft alive.
Absolutely.
If you take out looking for raid, you are hurting the player base beyond imaginable belief, right?
Okay.
The casual player base keeps this game alive. Whether you and I do looking for raid, now at the time the conversation was very different because you could do looking for raid and get BIS mythic gear, which was absurd, right?
So then
but
that's
to
really
take
the
away
problem.
looking for raid.
Yeah.
Well, that was a design flaw at the time. None of us fucking agreed that that was good.
And I think that
no one in their right mind, right?
I want to give you an example of a time that I think Blizzard actually did solve a problem that I think was absolutely fucking genius. Do you remember back in Battle for Azeroth where they had the meta of having, I think, 2 or 3 rogues in every MDI comp and then just Shroud of Concealmenting through like everything?
Yep.
And then they used the Awakened affix after that for the last season of BFA? I think that's probably one of the smartest things Blizzard has ever done. And
Okay.
can
I ask you a question on that?
I don't think.
Can I ask you a question on that before I forget?
Go ahead.
Because I'm old as fuck. Do you not think that the game right now, and again, I know you're not playing much WoW at the moment, do you not think that they're making changes? And sorry if my mic's really loud, it's a shitty mic, I'm in Singapore. Do you not think that the game right now is actually making changes a lot quicker than they have in the past? They're not waiting to a major patch to make a change in the game. I think that's a fair. I'm not going to sit here and defend Blizzard, but I think that they are doing that.
I think that
pretty
started
fast at the
in
moment,
9.15. I think that I don't think that's a new thing. I actually think that started in 9.15, And I think Blizzard has actually done a great job listening to a lot of changes that players have had recently. And I think that they are improving the game in a lot of ways. And I've been very vocal about that. And I think that Dragonflight does not have a lot of the, boring, weighty systems that Shadowlands had or BFA did. And I think that those are improvements. I've been extremely vocal about that. I think talent trees are great. I love them. I think that a lot of the systems in the game are great, but that doesn't mean that all of them are, or the game doesn't.
But that's the point. I'm not trying to say that either. Right. Yeah. This is the thing that I think a lot of people are getting the disconnect. I wasn't trying to say in a live 1-take 3-minute reaction video, trying to sum up everything that's wrong or not wrong with World of Warcraft. Right. You are more than smart enough to comprehend that, right? I'm sure your chat is as well.
I understand that, but like what I'm saying is that all I'm really trying to get you to see is that why Belluar would be offended by what you said. Like,
bro, his next tweet was calling me a degenerate cunt or something.
Well, of course he said that because you attacked him. I mean, is that not
I didn't attack him.
But
Stop
you
it.
did. I mean,
this is weird.
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Look, I'm an asshole too, okay? I wouldn't have taken it personally, but Belluar is kind of a nice guy, right?
No, listen. This is where I'm going to fucking stick up for myself, right?
Okay,
you
all right.
can't make 1,000 fucking videos.
Yeah.
Poking and poking and poking. That's like someone saying Pyromancer's not that bad. He's a fuckhead, right? Right? It's like you can't sit there and poke fucking bears all day and then someone finally says something back and you're like, oh,
well, I don't know.
Shut up. He's all right. He'll be fine.
Of course he's going to be fine. Of course, because I guarantee you the next stream, it's the same. I bet your viewership today is higher than it was a couple of days ago. Am I right?
I haven't actually checked. I got my setup shit.
Smart,
I can't even say I'm
smart.
Yeah,
but either way, I bet it is, and I bet Belluar's viewership is going to be higher. Absolutely. This is. Let's be honest. We can break the fourth wall. This ultimately is good for all of us. But
can you read the first line? Can you read the first line of my tweet?
First thing I want to say is that I have no hard feelings towards Belluar as a person, and I want to make that very clear. But you cannot say that. That's like saying that's like saying
literally.
I don't hate this, but or I don't like. It's like I don't hate women.
My video is this summed up in 2 seconds. This could have been my video.
Okay.
Hey, everyone! Belluar makes really clickbait videos and rides the hate train when it's good for the algorithm. That could have been my video, and I don't think that's that out there to say.
But like, can we narrow down on this good for the algorithm idea? Because I think this is an issue. Because
but I'd have to ask your editors, not you, what's good for the algorithm, wouldn't I?
Well, yeah, actually,
that's
both,
a joke.
Right?
That's a joke.
Well, I mean, to be fair, no, I mean, fuck, they do such a good job. It's insane. No, you're right, but I see what they do. That's why they're my editors. And the truth is, like, but why is it good for the algorithm?
Because I think that's YouTube in general. That's not just a WoW thing. That is not just a WoW thing, right? Look at the channels on YouTube, whether it be any game, right? The sort of negative videos work. We all know that, whether it be
negative videos on Baldur's Gate work?
I think so. There's plenty with hundreds
What about
of
negative
videos
videos
right?
on Elden Ring?
Sure, I'm sure there's plenty. I can't comment back to that because I have never Googled what's wrong with Elden Ring. I can't comment back.
There
to that,
are
right?
videos that are critical of the game, and I think some of them bring up valid points, and there are some about Baldur's Gate. But would you agree that the vast majority of content about Elden Ring and also Baldur's Gate is overwhelmingly positive?
Literally have never Googled it, bro. I've never watched it.
What other games have you Googled? What other games do you know? So I can
this goes back to my original point. I'm not trying to say that every video that Belluar has ever made is some negative video. That is not what I'm trying to say, right? Okay. I'm not trying to deflect what you're asking. It just goes back to exactly the same point, that I think there is a big way that you can make videos criticizing the game and even the company compared to doing videos that are just straight up, I don't know what you call it, like hate style videos where you're just hating on it and just hating on everything and hating on, more to the point, hating on people that are creating the game and implying that you can do it better. That's what I have a problem with.
Do you think...
I've got no problem with clickbaity stuff. I've got no problem with like the style of video. I think his lore videos and the guides are sick. I think he's made a lot of positive videos. I'm not trying to hate on him as a person, right? But I don't think it is an extreme thing to say that he makes clickbaity videos and rides the hate train. I really don't think it's that out there to say. And I'm shocked that people are shocked by that.
But you're saying he's not riding the hate train. You're saying he's riding the algorithm.
Yeah, but that's the same thing. If the game is doing well, like he's doing right now, the game is doing really. It's better right now, I think, for him to make positive videos.
Now we're talking about it, right? So now the reason why the algorithm is that the reason why the algorithm is pushing positive videos is because the game is doing well. Is that accurate?
Can I ask you a question? Because you're asking me a lot of questions. Can I ask you a question? And this is going to be this is going to be a big one, right? This is going to be a big one.
I love those.
World of Warcraft is in a horrible place, right? Every single person that makes YouTube videos,
it's in a not good place. Yes.
No. When it was in a not good place, as in when Blizzard itself and Activision was going through the massive lawsuit, still is, blah blah, whatever, right? But what's his name? Basabi got fired. I don't know his name.
Alex Basabi.
Okay. He got fired. Every single person is making videos, Belly Law included. They're all making videos about every single staff member that was around for this as a piece of shit. Every single staff member that sat there and watched is a horrible human being, and they shouldn't be involved in the company. They should be out of the company. That's a fair thing to say. A lot of people were making videos like that.
I can't really. Okay, so this is that's the question.
Okay. No.
Okay.
I'm just saying that's a fair thing to say, that a lot of people were making videos like that. I don't think that
people were as categorical as that. I don't think that they were as universal. I don't think that's accurate.
Okay.
The reason why I don't think that's accurate is that I think most normal people, especially people that are of working age, understand that people that are working underneath these guys probably don't have the agency or autonomy to do anything.
Oh, of course. I'm talking about the Cosby suit photos and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking the highest people in the company. The most of the videos were based around the knowledge that, like, people within the company at that high end would know what's going on.
Well,
right?
Do you disagree with that?
No, but this is my question. I just wanted to establish a baseline.
Okay, got it.
I wanted to establish a baseline, right?
Got it.
So Belly Law was one of the people that made a lot of videos about that and about that time, right? He made plenty of videos talking about how, as did you, right? So why was all these videos about old mate coming back, who we all call Green Jesus, who was a senior member at the company at the time? Where are all the videos pointing out that he worked at the video, or he worked at the company at the time, and pointing out that he probably would have had some level of understanding of what was going on as well, but it was past the hate train period, and now everyone was like, oh, Chris Metzen's back. We're saved. Chris Metzen's the man. I'm not going to make any videos talking about that he might knew or had some understanding of what was going on, but it's all gone now.
Okay.
Right? Okay. What I'm saying isn't that out there, because you can see it right here, right? You can see Chris Metzen in his thumbnail right now. If he hated on Blizzard and he hated Activision so much and had so much to say last year when all that stuff was coming out, where's the video talking about how maybe we should make a video talking about how Chris Metzen may have known stuff that's going on as well? I think it's
is that the
really
question?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me address it. Number one reason is because Chris Metzen wasn't in the photo at the Cosby suite. That's number one. Number two is that
come on.
You're
Are you
right.
serious?
You're right. You're absolutely right. But there's a very big difference between an implication and a fact. And that's the same reason why, for example, Mike Morhaime, nobody commented about him either. And there are a number of other people who were longtime Blizzard employees, and they left the company years before then. Like, for example, Mike Morhaime left the company in, like, I think it was 2016, 2015.
He also made a tweet, though. Chris Metzen made a tweet being like, look, I should have been more on point with things that were going on at the company at the time. The point that I'm trying to make is this is a great example of he had so much hate for Blizzard Activision because at the time, that's the algorithm. The algorithm was, I'm going to make an anti-Blizzard video. I'm going to make as many anti-Blizzard videos as I can. But
let's get back to the Chris Metzen thing. Let's get back to that.
And again, I'm not trying to say Chris Metzen was a person that was doing stuff.
But I'm just trying to explain why that wasn't popular to talk about at the time. So Chris Metzen left World of Warcraft in, Oh, fuck. I'm thinking somewhere towards the end of 2016, somewhere around there. Maybe somewhere into the early point of 2017. So
I
he
think it
had
was
been,
2016, right?
yeah, 2016, right? So he had left the company. Yeah, it was a little bit after Legion because I remember recording a video about him, and in the background was Maw of Souls. And so, anyway, that was somewhere around 2016. This was 5 years before the lawsuit had come out. So obviously, people are not going to immediately connect somebody who had left the company over 5 years ago with something.
Can I say something to that?
The other reason why was because Chris Metzen wasn't in the public doing anything. Like, he had just started Ouroboros, which was like that company, or sorry, War Chief Gaming. And then he started that game Ouroboros, and he had only done a couple of things, and he wasn't really in the public eye. So there would be no reason to correlate him to that because he also left Blizzard. And you could easily have said Chris Metzen might have left because of these things. And I think that is equally that could be equally as valid or not as what you're saying. Because both of them are conjecture. And that's the difference between somebody having a picture of the Cosby Suite and somebody being involved in the company at the time. And I think that's the big difference.
But that's fine, right? But then at the same time, when you've got people like Bellilaw calling out senior members in the company and making videos about those types of things, why is another senior member who was a very senior member of staff now all of a sudden praised and just being seen as Green Jesus is back and WoW's and it's safe, right? Because you can't sit there on one hand and say, and again, I'm not trying to implement Chris Metzen in anything.
No, and you can say the same thing about Mike Morhaime. What you're saying is that
absolutely, right.
The frustration and everything is misplaced. Well, there are a lot of people. I think that it's reasonable that people who might have left the company. Do you think that it's reasonable that there's a chance they could have left the company because they weren't happy with how those things were handled?
Absolutely,
because
but it's not up to us to know. We can't make a YouTube video and pretend like we know the ins and outs of what happened, and that's what a lot of people do.
Well, I think that,
but I don't think that's wrong to say.
But you do know the ins and outs whenever you have a picture of the people and you have screenshots of text messages from those people. I mean, I think those are the ins and those are the outs.
Yeah, okay. But, so you're trying to say that outside of that picture and outside of the text that we saw, nothing else ever happened? Come on, bro. You're smarter than that.
I don't know that. What I'm saying is I don't know that. And the fact is that, and I'm explaining why those things catch and why those things don't catch and why people latch on to certain things versus other things. So, of course, you're right that the odds are many things happened behind cameras that we didn't see. But it's not worth dwelling on those things because also, in all of these conversations and all of the information that was released by the government of California, neither Chris Metzen or Mike Morhaime were named in any of these depositions, in any of the statements, in anything. Mm-hmm. So,
but again, that's not the point of what I'm saying, though, bro. It's like, again, when people are making videos talking about senior members,
yes,
and senior members being aware of what's going on,
right.
The only point that I'm trying to make is if you're going to make 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 videos talking about how the senior members didn't do a good job when there was another senior member that worked there, but right now it's not the time to hate on Blizzard, then all you do is praise a senior member for coming back. That's the point that I'm making. You can't, for me, it's just this pick and choose when you're going to hate on the company. At the time, it was really popular to hate on the company. Right now, it's not the time to bring up the allegations. It's not the time to talk about that sort of stuff. So let's ignore the fact that that person was a senior staff member and make positive videos about them coming back. I don't think.
So do you think that Bellior categorically said that all senior staff members share accountability for the bad things that happened?
Too long ago. I'd have to go back and watch the video. I don't want to quote something that he said. It's the same as I didn't.
That's the problem. That's the crux of your argument, isn't it? It's that Bellior made a sweeping statement that all of the people in leadership at the time had shared responsibility for the bad things that happened.
I think he said something like they should have done a better job, which I agree with.
Well, they should have done a better job, and I think Mike Morhaime, Chris Metzen, all of them would definitely agree with you. And also, like, he's not saying that about Ian, for example, and Ian has been part of leadership there for quite a while, as a number of other people too. So, and I think also the reason why is that this had happened, like, the lawsuit the time frame of the lawsuit, a lot of people might not know this, but it was like about 10 years or so. So
Yeah,
of course
it was crazy long, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
it would have included whenever Chris Metzen was working there and whenever Mike Morhaime was working there. But the truth is that two of the most well-known people that worked at the company not being named at all by anybody in the entire fucking conversation. I think that's why nobody talked about them. It's because they weren't named.
That's a good thing, though. That's a good thing. No one wants them to be named, right? Ideally, that lawsuit is just, something that we don't want to happen. We don't want to see that type of stuff at the company, right? But again, I don't think that changes what I just said.
How does it not?
I think he's just picking and choosing when to be angry. And
you're saying that he's picking and choosing. So you're saying that he should be. So in order to be consistent, Belluer should have made a video that was negative about Chris Metzen now. Is that correct?
No, I don't think that's what I'm trying to say, right? I'm just trying to say that it's more about the picking and choosing when the algorithm is good and bad.
But why would the algorithm be good and bad?
Well, because right now it's good. No one's talking. How many streams do you see talking about the sexual allegation stuff in the last month? Zero. It doesn't exist. No one's talking about it anymore.
Well, why do you think that is?
At the time, because the hype train for that stuff is gone. At the time, that's all anyone talked about. That's fair to say, right?
Well, nobody talks about a lot of things because it already got resolved. And the people
the lawsuit's certainly not resolved. The lawsuit's still going on, right?
As far as I know, they settled the lawsuit. It was for like $35 million, and there are still a number of civil lawsuits that are pending with different people that are employees. But the lawsuit with the state of California that was against Blizzard, as far as I know, was settled easily over a year ago. So the reason why people aren't talking about it anymore is because it's literally settled.
Well, if it is settled, I have no idea, right? But
and also, there are people, the people left the company.
Well, yeah, they were instantly pretty much dropped, right?
Well, yeah, but that's not a hype train, right? That's a solution. It's like if you have your hand on a stove and you're burning your hand and you're like, oh my God, my hand's getting burned. You take your hand off the stove. You're not off the hype train of talking about your hand getting burned. It's just that it's not happening anymore, so you're not talking about it.
Again, I think we're fundamentally not seeing, because I feel like we're talking in circles, right? I feel like what I'm saying isn't that outside of the realm of craziness, right? Making videos at the time, especially hating on the company as much as you can. We're not talking one video. We're talking again and again and again and again, right? When it's a good place in the algorithm, as we said, you do the thumbnails, you do the titles, and you make it so it's all about hating on the company, hating on devs, hating on that sort of stuff, right? I'm not just talking about the sexual allegation stuff. I mean, in general, right?
Well,
I don't think it's that crazy to say that right now.
Okay.
Right now, it is not the time to do that. So this is why he's doing positive videos. And this goes back to the whole premise of the conversation. Right?
I understand what you're saying, but I think that we should take a step back and ask the question, why was it good to do it then? And why is it not good to do it now? Because I think the answer to those questions is actually the reason why these things are happening.
I think only Belluer can answer that question.
You think only Belluer
Truthfully. Because we don't know the ins and outs of his channel, right? I think that from my point of view,
insight into it, right? Like, I mean, I do a lot of YouTube. I've done YouTube for 10 years.
Yeah, of course,
I have very strong insight into this, and I can tell you exactly why these things happen. The reason why it happens is because people don't like hearing content that's negative, and they don't like hearing content that's positive. They like hearing content that they agree with. They like hearing things that tell them, you know that feeling you have? It's right. And so whenever 9.1 comes out, Korthia sucks dick, everybody's going over to Final Fantasy XIV, and people are leaving WoW in droves, and then Belluer makes a video and he says, I'm doing the same thing, I agree with you guys. The reason why that video was popular is because people were doing it, and because people agreed with him. And now that Dragonflight has retained a much smaller, although a strong audience of people, Blizzard has said in the earnings report that they had better audience retention for this expansion than they had for previous expansions. So this is even like a literal fact. They cannot lie in those documents because it's like a legal thing for like the US law. And so this is a fact. And the reason why he's making more positive videos right now is because people are more positive about the game. So for you to say that he's capitalizing on hate, I think is only telling half of the story. Because the truth
last
is,
3 months, because he's been positive for the last 3 months.
well,
and I'll say something back to what you just
game,
said in a
because
second.
the game has been positive for the last 3 months. So like
but
what you're
this is the whole
saying
point. You're seriously just agreeing with what I'm saying, right?
But
he's farming
then
views.
at that point, what you are accusing him of is reporting the news accurately.
But again, I don't know how many times I could say it. Again, there's a big difference between reporting news and having criticism about the game compared to going after devs and stuff like that. Now, I really didn't want to say anything back to stuff that Belly Law said since this, because he's not here to defend himself, and I feel like that's a little bit wrong.
Sure.
But I will say, he said today on Twitter that the reason why he went over to Final Fantasy is because that it was because his friend, he responded to something that I said, that he said that the only reason he went over to Final Fantasy is because his friend was playing it. And I'm going to call bullshit on that. You went over to Final Fantasy, it did better, and we've been mates for quite a while, right? I think that you were even quite shocked at how well Final Fantasy did your streams, right? I think there is no denying that.
There's a lot of weebs out there, more than I thought.
Yep. Preach went over to Final Fantasy and started doing really freaking well as well. Pyromancer went over there. He averaged 50 to 100 viewers on WoW and he got to 10,000 subs, right? I don't know what his view count was, but he went absolutely insane.
He did,
to sit there and say that you only jumped on the Final Fantasy train, to use your Final Fantasy argument about this, to sit there and they only went over to Final Fantasy because of his friend played it, is fucking bullshit.
So
we all know why that he jumped over to Final Fantasy, which is, again, it's because it's good for views. It was good to make videos about it at the time. It was good to make Final Fantasy hype videos. It was good to say Blizzard bad, Final Fantasy good. That was the thing to do at the time. There's no fucking denying that, man. Come on.
Okay. Do you want me to deny it? I'm about to right now.
Yeah, you can.
Bellure's first impressions of Final Fantasy predate my first stream for it.
Sure, but is that just one impression?
Right,
I'm talking about video after video after video. We're not talking about going back and playing one video. I've been subbed to Final Fantasy for over 1,500 days. It doesn't mean I play it every day.
You just accused Bellure of playing Final Fantasy 14 because of my success streaming it. And you said that he's lying. You said that he was lying because you're talking about Matt Levegast here, the other guy with the glasses. Yeah, I know him.
Okay.
And you
so
said
when did they really start making a lot of Final Fantasy content? I'm not talking about first impression doing one video. I'm talking about making multiple videos, talking about it all the time. And then making the counter videos, which again goes back to my premise.
Now you've changed though. But you just changed what you said, because originally you said that he tried out Final Fantasy 14 because
this is the thing where there needs to be an element of common sense. I'm not trying to say the only time he's ever played Final Fantasy ever in his entire thing of an MMO, mainly MMORPG player, the only time he's ever played Final Fantasy is that time when you started playing. That's not what I'm saying, and I think that should go without saying.
But
I'm talking about when he really jumped on. That is what
you said, though.
But I would hope that there is an element of common sense. I am not sitting here trying to say it's the same when people
before
are responding on.
Just let's make sure that we clarify. So you're saying that Bellure, but like you actually no, because you said.
Do you want me to say it in a very simple way? I'll say it in a very simple way. I believe personally that Bellure really jumped on the Final Fantasy hype train when Blizzard Activision was down and WoW was down and the numbers were down for WoW and WoW was in a really bad place. He jumped on the Final Fantasy hype, and I think that you and a few other people are really big responsible for the hype that happened. That's a compliment, right? And I think a lot of other content creators, not just him, jumped on that. And then because WoW was doing so badly and Final Fantasy was really hyped, I think it's fair to say that he started pumping out Final Fantasy videos and started pumping out anti-WoW videos and just videos shitting on WoW. I don't think that's unfair to say at all.
Sure, but what I'm saying is that, but you also said that he was lying, and you said he was bullshitting whenever he said.
I think he's full of shit. I don't think I said he's lying. I think he's full of shit when he's saying that.
What is the difference between lying and being full of shit?
Okay, so if you want to word it like that, do I think that he's lying that he only jumped on Final Fantasy a lot more when Final Fantasy had hype, yes, I think he did that like a lot of other content creators, not just him. And I don't think that is an unfair thing to say.
But you
in
do
the
have,
fucking slightest.
But you do have to admit that if you look at the video dates, the dates
that's why first impression. Go, you'd have to go and look at the videos when he started pumping them out. You would have to go and look at the videos and look at when he really started pumping Final Fantasy videos. If you're going to use that as your argument, you need to go and look at the channel and look at when he started pumping out Final Fantasy videos and when he started making the anti-WoW videos.
So your argument is that Belluar was providing news coverage on a topic that a lot of people cared about.
Yeah, but that's not the point. That's not the point of what I originally said.
Well, but
I've already said it like 5 times,
but you've already said, though, you said very plainly that him saying that the reason that he started playing Final Fantasy 14 was because of his friend was bullshit. And that is a factually untrue statement.
Okay, do you want me to word it differently? When he started putting Final Fantasy on a pedestal, being like, wow, Blizzard Activision is shit, and Final Fantasy is all of a sudden the best video game ever created for 3.5, 4 months when we can farm views out of it, right? Like a lot of other people did. I think that's full of shit. And it will blow my mind if chat doesn't think that that's a real take.
Sure. And I think that obviously once the game got more popular and he started enjoying it more and playing it more, and a lot of people wanted to hear content about it, I think that it makes perfect sense for him to make more videos about it. But for you to say that he was being disingenuous for the reason why he started playing it is untrue, and you can tell that it's not true based off of the dates, because the day that I started playing Final Fantasy 14 was July 3rd, I believe, of 2021.
But hang on a second, didn't you delay quite a while until you really jumped on the Final Fantasy hype? There wasn't the game already doing well? I don't know off the top of my head the dates where Final Fantasy
it was doing well. I think that really the 9.0, because June 1st, you've got to remember what happened on June 1st, 2021. Well, that was Burning Crusade release. Remember that? So
I couldn't say it.
I mean, I do. I remember a lot of this. And like Belluar brought this video out on the release of Burning Crusade even. So I think that like at that point, people were very interested in it. But if you look at the amount of views on this video only has 110,000 views, which is probably a lot smaller than what it was.
But again, I'm not talking about first impression video. That's not the point at all.
Uh-huh.
I think if you are genuinely trying to say that based off his comment back today, which again, I didn't really want to bring up because he's not here to defend it, right? If you genuinely are trying to say that he didn't jump on the Final Fantasy hype, as he should, right? As he should as a content creator, but based off his own comment that he only started playing it because of his friend. I'm not talking about playing it once or twice. I'm talking about pumping out videos every couple of days and pumping out videos about how shit WoW is compared to Final Fantasy, which is what people were doing.
Yeah.
That's what I think he did. And I don't think that's unfair to say. My mind is blown if people disagree with that.
I think that I do think that it is and it's not. Like, I can see what you're saying, and I think that's accurate, and I think that everybody does things that will increase their viewership. Like, for example, you stream with a webcam. Usually people that stream with a webcam get more viewers. Is that right?
Fuck. I might have to not to after all the comments about me tattoos. Jesus, people a bit mean, aren't they?
I know. I don't understand that at all. But like in general,
people saying I got the tattoo logo of Twitter on my face. That's a new one.
God, that's a good one. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, what I'm saying is, like, everybody does things that will appeal to an audience, right? And like, you play World of Warcraft because that's your main game and you like World of Warcraft, but you probably also play that because that's the most beneficial for you in terms of your stream. Is that right?
Oh, right. My stream's dying with me playing WoW. I'm probably done next year. So yeah, you're 100% right. Right? You play what works for you.
Yeah, of course.
I think that the whole thing of this is crazy to me because of this fact, right? If someone said, to me what he said about me, if I was mainly a YouTuber and someone made a video being like, hey, I ride the algorithm and ride the hate train and ride the highs and ride the lows, my response would be, fuck yes, I do, because that's what works. So for me, I genuinely don't understand how this turned into this big thing, because I don't think what I said was that if I said to you, someone kept mentioning you, they kept saying, why didn't you say this about Asmon? And I was like, because the cunt doesn't play WoW. He just watches fucking videos under the WoW section. What the fuck am I going to say about him? I watch Asmon all the time. He fucking watches one video and then for 7.5 hours and walks around town for 20 minutes. What the fuck am I going to say about him?
And collects gold.
And collects gold. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to say? I'm not saying these, like, I didn't open this video and be like, you know, Billy Law's a cunt and all this sort of stuff and really deep dive into him. I think what I said wasn't that harsh, and I'm genuinely surprised that he took so much offense to it.
I think that it makes sense though, right? Because like do you have like a rapport with Belluar? Because like whenever you say that, I've met you in real life. I know you. Do you know Belluar?
Yeah. No, fuck no. Never met him.
So that's the difference, right? And so you're listening to what somebody is saying and you're hearing it from the perspective of a stranger. And I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Right? But I'm not sitting here trying to defend my point of view, right? I'm not sitting here to be, if people really want to take this to heart, because I don't think what I'm saying is that extreme. I really don't. I don't think me saying Billy Law and a lot of other people clickbait videos and clickbait titles and ride the hate train and ride the lows and highs of WoW is that extreme to say. We all do it as content creators.
Absolutely. We all do. And I think I don't think that's a bad thing. But my point that I'm trying to make is that I don't think that Belluar is doing any damage. I don't think Belluar is damaging the game. I don't think so.
Again, it's, and I think you will probably understand this and a lot of other people won't in the chat, right? From either of our chats. You understand that is a live, one-take, 3-minute reaction after watching a half-an-hour video, right? And I think you understand what I'm saying there, right? I can't fit in 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes on a one-take while I'm live. I can't fit in everything that I'd like to talk about, every layer of reaction and every type of thing that I think that's good and bad about World of Warcraft.
But you did
and the
say
videos
that
that
it was
made.
bad for the game. You did explicitly state that.
Yeah, so I agree. And again, that goes back to the original point that I think that there is a big difference between making videos criticizing a game and just plain up shitting on devs and implying that you can do better. I think there's a very big difference because, again, it goes back to that original thing. And I'm sorry to both chats. I feel like we're talking in circles a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like as content creators, we build this echo chamber and people within our communities, for the most part, are going to agree with what we say. If I put out a video saying something, 7.5 people are going to see it, and they're probably going to agree with me. You put out a video, 30,000 people are going to see it, 25,000 are going to agree with you, 7.5, well, the other 3,500 are going to call you bald,
get banned.
and then and then there's going to be 2,000 people that disagree with you. You get the point of what I'm saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that what he's doing is harmful to the game. I don't think that's the case at all. And I don't think that his videos are doing any negative impact to the game. And I also think that for a lot of the changes that Blizzard has made to like different systems, and I can give you a list if you want, I think that you could have hired somebody off of Fiverr and they could have figured that out.
I mean, that's one thing we can definitely agree on. That's not wrong.
I mean, but if we can both agree on that, then why can't Belluar fix it?
Because I don't think he can. I don't think him and his community can fix the game. I don't think my community can fix the game. I don't think you and your community can fix the game. I think we can fix the game with what we feel would fix it for ourselves.
So then why
right? But I don't think that we can make these decisions.
Then why did Blizzard agree with him?
With what?
Do you want a list?
Of what things that you think that he directly changed from the game? Just him on his own? You think that the list...
No,
and that's the point that I'm making.
But what I'm saying is that these were things that Belluar had suggested along with a number of other people in the community, and then
him and his team suggested.
Sure, yeah. And also like other people in the community. It's not like it's just him. I've said these same things, and then they've been implemented into the game. So
but again, bro, that's my whole point. That is literally my whole point. If you're going to sit here and say that a broader spectrum of content creators, we come together, right, and we push this narrative that something is going to be good. Classic, for example. We all came together and said, hey, whether it works or not, fucking let's give it a try. Let's put it in the game and see what happens. right? That is a vast majority of us agreeing and then them changing something. There's a lot of people on the back end that did a lot more work than any of us, right? That tried to get these things signed and got the petition and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to try and take credit and, you know, or anything before someone tries to say that. But that doesn't mean that him making a video, again, which seems to be my point that I'm making over and over again, him making videos implying that he can change it just on his own doesn't change the fact that I think that it's bullshit.
How many people?
If you're gonna sit here,
employees would need to be inside of a room to screw in the light bulb of Legion legendaries? How many?
But again, that's okay. So again, I use that example with corruption, Legion legendaries, right?
Yeah.
For you, it doesn't matter. I think your way of playing the game, and I've said this to you for years, I think the way that you play the game is very skewed, right? Because you could sit in Stormwind and get 10 to 50,000 viewers watching you do nothing. So your entertainment can come from chat, right?
Well,
you don't need to really entertain yourself, right? The point that I'm making, I think the way that you play is very skewed in terms of, like, for most people, if we got our legendaries week one off a vendor, our BIS legendaries, I'm bored in a month. Now, look, I don't think that, I just want to make this very clear. I do not think the legendary system was perfect. As you know, it was, I got my BIS legendary last, right?
It was bad.
But I also don't want to buy my legendary off a vendor, right? Not at the start of the expansion. I want to try and work towards something. Right, I think again we're a little bit off topic here, but
are we talking
I don't
about a
want
vendor,
to.
Right? I mean, maybe a vendor wouldn't have been the right solution at the beginning, but maybe being able to
maybe
get
a currency.
something,
I can agree that maybe a currency would be good.
And
sure, I can.
There were a lot of people that thought that, and so it didn't happen. And I think it didn't happen, and that was to the detriment of the game. And I think Belluar could have solved that problem. I think I could have solved that problem. And you know what? I think you could have solved that problem. Because you play the game a lot, and the only people that weren't solving it were the Blizzard people, the Blizzard developers, designers, employees, whoever. Why did they not solve it? Was it because of pride? Was it because of ego? Was it because of incompetence? Was it because of player engagement metrics? We will never really know. But at the end of the day, to say that one person can't come up with an obvious solution to this, I don't think. But
you have to add the other part that I'm saying. You can't just say that part.
Okay.
You can't just say that I don't. The other part is what I said before, that I could say something that would make me happy, sorry.
Yeah.
Within the game right now, but then it fucks 30 other people the way that they enjoy playing the game.
Can you give me an example?
I don't think it's fair.
Can you give me an example of where that's not the case?
The conversation we had a couple of years ago, we had the conversation about looking for raid. At the time, you really thought taking looking for raid was the thing to do.
Okay.
I disagreed with you.
Okay.
There was a lot of people that agreed with you. There was a lot of people that agreed with me. Right? That is a good example of where you think that's something that fixes the game. I disagree.
Okay. So right? Can you give me an example of a change where that's not the case?
What do you mean?
Well, you're saying that what your implication is that the solutions that you, I, or Belluar would implement into the game would be self-serving, and that's why they're bad solutions. Is that correct?
It goes back to that thing where I told you I've never been able to, in 12 years, come up with a problem in WoW that everyone comes up with the solution, right, that we all agree on, even with a pool of 1,000 people.
Okay, so so that is basically what you're saying, right? Is that you've never
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay. So then has Blizzard ever been able to do that?
Because it's not just about keeping me happy. It's not just about keeping me happy.
I totally agree with you. So has Blizzard ever been able to do that? A solution that makes everybody happy?
Again, that's not my job. And I don't think it's our job as content creators, as a sole person making a video or doing a stream, that we should imply that we could fix it, which is where I have a fundamental problem with how he is and how his videos are.
Well, do you think Blizzard can fix it?
That's what people get paid to do. I fucking hope they can. And we both agreed that they're doing better. Do we not agree? Didn't we both agree that they're making changes very quickly now? And we both agree that since 9.1 that they're doing a lot better in implementing changes and enforcing feedback a lot quicker. We both agreed on that, right?
We can. We both definitely agree on that. And do you know why they did that? It's because of community feedback asking them to do exactly that.
Sure, but it's not just Belluar.
You're right.
Like that's sort of the implication that you're going, right?
No, I don't think so. I think that obviously Belluar is going to have the same as anybody. Like nobody's opinions, I believe, are truly their own. right? Because you're constantly interfacing with content, you're reading people's opinions, you're listening to what they're saying. People are always reflecting off of each other, and opinions are always kind of being formed through reflection and conversation. So I don't think that any one person has the individual solution themselves. But what your implication...
But that was the point I'm making. That was literally the point that I made.
Well, I think this is the point that you're making, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is what you're saying. You're saying that my solution, your solution, Belluar's solution, content creator solutions are self-serving, and they would not serve the greater audience of Blizzard game players, right? World of Warcraft players. But what my argument against that is that I don't think Blizzard's solutions serve Blizzard players in any sort of a higher ratio. I think that whenever Blizzard makes a change to these different things, they don't have a massive success rate of making everybody in the community happy either. I don't think they've ever had that. So to draw
I would never disagree that.
But to draw a distinction between the employees at Blizzard and to compare that with players and say that, or content creators, and say content creators and people in the community are not qualified to make these decisions, when oftentimes the
but that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
The same decisions. And both of these groups of people will, of course, have people that disagree with them, because once you have enough people, you're going to have people that disagree. So how is that not what you're saying?
Because, again, it goes back to there is a very big difference. If we all came together as content creators and voiced our opinion, there's a big difference between making a video or making multiple videos, or a group of us coming together as content creators, and making videos saying, hey, this is what we think would be a positive change. This is what we think would be good for the game, as opposed to calling devs brain dead apes and stuff like that. You can criticize a game. You can criticize things within the game and systems within the game.
You use this term brain dead apes with Belluar. Do you think Belluar has referred to the developers in World of Warcraft as brain dead apes?
From my understanding, I can't remember it, but a lot of people have told me he said that word for word in a video, but I don't want to quote it and say, me too, right?
Well, I mean, but you've used the term a number of times, so I didn't know if you had like an example or something like that. I don't know.
From my understanding, I can vaguely remember it.
Yeah.
That him saying that, but it's not just that one phrase. This isn't like something that I'm making up, right? Anyone that watches his videos a lot, he has said so much stuff about devs and so many comments about how because he's making a game, because he made a game, right, he could do this better, or this guy, implying that he could run things better.
I've got a really good example of this. Okay. Do you remember whenever they added Drakthir in the pre-patch of Dragonflight?
Skinny dragons?
femboy, scaly, weird, absolutely. Do you remember how they were able to use Soar in the open world in Azeroth and Kalimdor, and then it was removed, it was nerfed, they reduced the flying speed?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Do you think that was a good decision by Blizzard?
I mean, as a Drakthir main, it didn't worry me. But like, didn't really care. It didn't make or break the game for me.
Well, then why make
as
the
an
change?
Evoker main?
Then why make the change?
I'll be honest with you, I've never thought about it, but continue.
Well, what I'm saying is that my point that I'm making is that there are decisions that are made by Blizzard that are dumb. And that's what I'm saying. I think this is a perfect example. The Drakthir reducing the speed of Soar by like 30%. Like, this is a 30% like net, not 30% like additive. And so whenever you say that like the people like Belluar can't come up with a solution for that, Blizzard literally did. They came up with the same solution that players wanted the entire time, was they just wanted to be able to use dragon riding everywhere. So the same solution that every single player wanted. You don't need to be a genius to come up with the idea, oh, well, instead of nerf Soar, let's just give everybody dragon riding everywhere. Like, I mean, you don't have to be a game developer for this. You don't have to be a genius for this. You could easily assume this is the case. So why is it that players can't assume that they are right, especially whenever Blizzard ends up doing what the players want?
But again, I'm very confused why nerfing Soar is your argument there. Well, because I don't know why they nerfed Soar. Do you remember why they nerfed Soar?
Yes,
like, what was the actual reasoning by? Okay, perfect.
So the reason why they nerfed Soar is they said that one of the problems was that players would be more incentivized to use Drakthir in order to do old instance transmog farming and to do pet battles.
Okay, and you don't think that's valid?
No.
That seems like a reasonable thing, right?
No.
So if Drakthir were able to farm dungeons way faster than any other class, right? You do most of your content for a long time is transmog farming, right? You use every advantage that you can to transmog farm really quickly. You got your 2 weapons that you use and every enchant that you can and Bear Tartar and everything else, right? So if they were able to farm exponentially faster than you don't think that there would be a single player or players that would complain about that. Now, look, male transmogs suck and no one wants them on any male class.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So no, the answer would be no, because they have a different transmog type, so I couldn't use them. Like, for example, in I think it was Words of Draenor, it could have been Legion, rogues were able to keep up 100% uptime of their 75% sprint of the time.
And they nerfed it.
They did nerf it, but then they've added other things like Demon Hunters being able to skip massive amounts of ICC, for example, by
but you have to jump up a chain. You have to jump up the chain and then glitch through the wall, right? So that's not like that's not really like a hot take because you're glitching through the wall. Should they nerf it? Sure, I can agree with you there, right?
Why should they?
But they changed something. Well, because it's not meant to happen. You literally glitch through a wall and go into the game. You're not doing something that's fundamentally put into the game, right?
You're definitely making a point there. So, but
I don't think them nerfing. Sorry, go ahead, say.
If they're able to farm a dungeon faster and do that more quickly, I think that there are a lot of cases where different classes would be more advantageous than others. Like, for example, Death Knights. Death Knights are just one of the slowest classes in the game. So
can I just say something to my chat real quick, just because people are popping off? My ads are automated, by the way. It's not my hands are in the air. My ads are automated from Twitch.
I can confirm that, by the way. You have the ad incentive program, right?
Yeah.
He has the ad. He has the ad incentive program, and they force you to run the ads on a certain time. You sign up for it. That's the way it is. So don't blame him. I know how this works.
So just to be very clear, because people are getting the shit. That's not me.
And anyway, going back to this, like, so for the transmog argument, I think every class is going to have a disparity in the way that they farm different dungeons. And I think that there have been a larger disparity in the past between, like, other classes farming dungeons versus a Drakthir, especially.
But I don't think that's a good point for me, though. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Okay, I don't think them nerfing it, saying that Drakthir, if we kept that in, are going to be able to farm dungeons exponentially faster than anyone else. And that was obviously the reason for the change. I don't think that's a good point from your side, because if they, let's say it got implemented in the game and Drakthir can be, I don't know, what was it like originally? I think it's like 70% movement speed inside a dungeon baseline.
Well,
right?
That wasn't with sword.
People are going to complain.
Well, I don't know about that, because I'm not talking about that. That's not the racial ability. This would be outside of the dungeon. This would be going from dungeon to dungeon. And also, like, the other example they used was pet battles.
Okay.
You can't even see the pets on most computers. And most render distances, whenever you're flying at maximum speed with dragon riding, you don't even render the pets whenever you go over them, because you're going so fast. They don't even show up.
How the fuck did we get on pet battles? What happened?
Well, because that was the other reason why they nerfed it.
Okay.
So you weren't even able to see them. So the reason why they made a change is something that technically does not even occur.
Okay.
That's the problem.
But so you're saying that they nerfed it because there's no illusion that the game engine is dog water, right? There's no illusion there. We all know that, right? So they nerfed something in the game because they said it was making the game.
I think we're getting off the point, right? Is that I mean, All I'm saying is, like, I think this was a bad change. I didn't like it a lot, and I think that ultimately people probably would not have all rolled Drakthir just to farm old dungeons because they could run to the old dungeon faster. I just don't think this is the case. I don't think this would have happened. I think this was outrageous. It was a stupid thing that Blizzard did, and nobody wanted it, and it it affected almost nobody, and now, almost a year later, they are adding dragon riding for everybody, but Soar still remains to be nerfed. So again, I think this is Blizzard solving problems that don't exist, and I think it's an example of Blizzard doing something that the entirety of the player base didn't want. Nobody.
I think that's unfair. You can't say that. You can't. This is my. But you can't say that, bro. And I think that's a fair thing to say. You cannot sit there and say it's like me saying if they nerfed it, every single player, or if they didn't nerf it, no one would have a problem with it. We don't know that. We don't know that, and I don't think, in fairness, you don't either.
You're right. You are absolutely right. I do not know it. But the truth is that whenever you're receiving feedback that is 90% one way, I think that goes to show a certain narrative, doesn't it?
But where did we get the 90% of players didn't want Sword to get nerfed? It is information that we don't know. We are guessing completely, right? There's not even 90% Evoker players up until Augment got implemented. There was like 18 players.
Do you think? Do you really think that Blizzard has some kind of like massive, like analytical tool to make these decisions?
Of course, it's called Guardian. They literally have a program called Guardian.
Then why do they keep making mistakes?
I mean, but that's not the point of this entire conversation, right?
But it is, because like what you're saying is that you're saying that they have the tools and they have the insight and we can't understand it. And then whenever I look at the implementation of those tools and that insight, and it's bad, well then the tools are wrong and the application of the tools is also wrong.
So can I ask you a question, right? And this is a little bit off topic. I don't want to confuse anyone. So today I made a tweet, a completely separate tweet, talking about how I think as players, and I'll try and get this out in a very quick way. I think as players, we need to take responsibility a little bit as players. And what I mean by that is, realistically, most people that come into, whether it be my chat, your chat, anyone else's chat, and talk about WoW these days, for a lot of people, they don't even play the game anymore. Doesn't mean they can't have an opinion.
Sure.
I'll use the example of God Comp in Mythic Plus, right? Over the 26 keys right now, there is a clear meta, right? There is a clear meta. It's Fire Mage, S-Priest, Augment Invoker, stuff like that, right? But we're talking 26, 27, we're talking about like 30 plus keys, right? If you look at Radio Row, it's going to be the same thing for page after page after page after page. Now, for the most part, it's the same teams if you really look at it. But we're talking about literally any class in the game, any spec right now can do a 26 key. Anyone in the game. You're looking at 32 keys, right? Any class in the game can do a 26. But will you get invited as a player to a 20 key on a class that's not one of the metas? For the most part, no. And I think in a large portion, we need to take responsibility as players that it's like, yes, we can shit on the game. Yes, we can say all these things. But there's a large portion that falls back on us as well. You do not need to play the same comp Limit or Echo do to clear Mythic 6 months down the track. But we live in this sort of world of MMORPG players right now where someone will watch MDI and they'll go, oh, I need to play the same comp that every MDI player is playing to do my weekly 16 key. When you're talking about this high level of gameplay, as in 32 keys, 28 keys, stuff like that, there is a meta in every game ever. There is a meta in Counter-Strike. There is a meta every season in League of Legends. There is a meta in Valorant. There is a meta in anything you play, right?
So how much variance do you think is problematic?
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like up until, like, let's be realistic, 27 keys, anyone in the game can play any comp. As long as you got healer, DPS,
let me make an argument.
Whatever, right?
You've tried to hammer a nail through a piece of wood?
Okay, yeah, I like where this is going.
You can do that with a rock, right?
Sure.
But if you do it with a hammer, it's easier?
Sure.
Do you want to use a hammer or a rock?
Okay, so my counter to that is any class and any spec up until 27 keys is good right now. Let's be even more critical. Let's say 26 keys.
So do you think at 26 keys, Priest, Mage, Augment is worse?
What do you mean? Most of the people, the thing is, though, is like most people that talk about God
high level, right? So would it not be the best at 26 too?
The thing is, though, is most people that are talking about God Comp can't even pull off the things that you need to do as God Comp. It's not like you walk into a 32 key as God Comp and just one-shot the key, right? The point that I'm making is any class in the game can do a 26 key. the problem is, and I think, again, this is sort of off topic, I think there needs to be an element of responsibility as the player base of where, and I said this on Twitter today, would you invite a 447 eye level enhancement shaman to your 22 key? No. But that doesn't mean that they're not balanced. The balancing in the game right now is fucking phenomenal. It's phenomenal up until you start talking about 27, 28, 29, 30 plus keys, which is most people that complain about the game are not even playing at all at that level, not even slightly.
Okay. So if they're not playing at all at that level and they're not even close to it, wouldn't they need all the help they can get? And wouldn't they want to play a meta comp even more because they're not that good?
No, because I think playing a class that you're comfortable with, you're going to, and I think you'll agree with this point, you, from a rating point of view even more, play a class that you're comfortable with and you know how to play versus a class that you barely know how to play because it's the meta. 9 times out of 10, most players will do well in the class that they're comfortable with.
You're right. And so
from a mythic rating perspective and high-end keys perspective, so I think you can agree with that, right?
Are we talking about inviting people? Because usually what I see is people that are complaining about getting invited. Yeah, so like you're talking about playing with another person though. So like you're not even talking about making a change personally. You're talking about getting invited to a group.
Okay, so let me ask it to you like this then, right? Sorry, I'm really not trying to cut you off. You play a non-meta spec, right? You cannot get invited to a key. You're trying to do a 22 plus key. No one will invite you. Balancing in the game right now is phenomenal. Gearing is very easy. I don't think many people are going to disagree with that. I don't even know if I agree with that.
I really don't, because
gearing's easy.
Well, no, you won't get invited. I think that if somebody with a 3.5k Raider IO that was an enhancement shaman that was a Fury Warrior queued into a 22 key, I bet they'd get invited.
I'm telling you right now, go and watch Cybear's stream. He is one of the #1 or #3 feral in the world, and you will watch him on stream for hours and hours, try and get into keys. This is not like a meme. This is correct. He literally makes videos about it all the time, right? There's the point that I'm trying to make. If balancing is good in the game, right? And balancing is quite fair up until the point where we're talking about the highest level of keys that 90% of the player base are not even doing. At what point is that not a Blizzard problem, but it's a community and player problem?
Why do you think the community... So, for example, why do you think the community does that then?
Because we live in a day and age of where like someone will watch a tier list video for 10.2. The day 10.2 patch notes come out, they'll watch a random YouTuber's... I'm not talking about someone like Max. I think Max's tier list videos are done very well. He interviews the best players of the game, and he even says it's not like a solid tier list video. It's a, here's our prediction of what we think is going to be good video, and I think they're done very fair, right? Someone will watch a tier list video released on day 1 of the patch notes and decide their main because the tier list video says that this class is going to be S tier, and they go, that's it, it's the best class in the world.
So do you think that there are games that don't have that problem?
No, I said that before. I think every game in the world has a meta.
So do you think that World of Warcraft's meta is worse than other games?
I think balancing right now in World of Warcraft outside of...
I mean the way that players approach the meta. Sorry.
I think but that's the point that I'm making. I think it's a problem all around. I think there needs to be an element of we need to take a little bit of responsibility from that. Can a 447 eye level arms warrior do a 26 key? Of course it can. Will he get invited? Probably not.
I don't know. Like, and that's the thing, right? Is like, I don't think that either of us can really make a distinction on that. Because like even as somebody like what you're bringing up, this person that was like not getting invited as like a high level feral druid, like they have, Cyber. This is a noteworthy person who's known in the community. Like for example, whenever I queue up for dungeons, I get invited insta all the time whenever I would play.
Again, that's why I said before, you live in such a warped sense reality of how the game is actually played, right? And I think that's fair to say. I'm not trying to be a dick.
And that's my point, right? Is that I literally cannot make a judgment on this. And every single person that's making a judgment on it is only making it off of personal experience. So whenever, and I think it's the same for you. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, like you've streamed for a long time. A lot of people know who you are, right? So I think that you could say the same thing.
I changed my name.
Well, yeah, but still, some people are going to remember, right? They're going to know.
No.
My point is that, like, every single person that's streaming is going to have a warped experience of the way that they go through a group finder. And even the people that are going through the group finder, I think that in a lot of cases, they're probably not telling the whole story either. There's plenty of people that I say, oh, I got kicked out of a raid for doing nothing. Well, no, I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, you did. It's like also in Classic WoW, the reason why I think that people try so hard to adhere to a meta in Mythic Plus right now is because when you punish people for failing, people are going to try harder to not be punished. And the truth is that Mythic Plus is a 30-minute investment. And it's a 30-minute investment that will brick a key. And not only whenever it bricks a key do you have to, do you go down a level, but you have to do that key and succeed to get back to where you were already at. So Blizzard has engineered a situation where players are going to do the maximum level of gatekeeping because the fail state for the situation that they have to gatekeep for is so high that they don't want to fail on it. So, of course, they're going to go with the best comp because the best comp is going to ensure them success at the highest ratio. So, if you're looking at two different names and you don't know this is Shaman 1 and Priest B, and priests are better than shamans, any logical, reasonable person, all other things considered equal, is going to choose the priest over the shaman. Because if they don't, they have a higher probability of not succeeding in the run. Now, of course, no two players are equal, but I think this is a general statement that whenever you create a high fail state, then you're going to create more gatekeeping. I think the same thing happens with Classic WoW. Like, Classic WoW has a massive amount of gatekeeping.
Do you want me to respond to that part first
before
we jump onto Classic WoW? Yeah, sure. So, again, this goes to... Sorry, and I just wanted to get one point at a time, right? Again, what's the solution there? We take out Mythic Plus out of the game?
I think that you should make it to where keys don't deplete.
Sure, I like that, right? I like that, but that's not the premise of what we're talking about. And I think genuinely, Zach, you would be very surprised how hard it is right now, whether you stream or not stream, how hard it is. And don't take my word for it. I don't know how many people in your chat still play WoW. I think you would be genuinely surprised how hard it is if you're not playing a meta comp right now, if you're not playing a meta class, to get invited to a key. And the average player's experience, and I'm not talking about 26 keys, I'm not talking about any of this sort of stuff, I'm talking about like 20 keys. And this is what I'm saying. This is I still play WoW a fair bit,
but
and I'm not talking about my experience.
What I'm saying is, like, your experience playing WoW, like, you're also playing as a streamer.
I was about to say, not my experience, bro. I've done like a 22 key this season. That's it. That's like the highest key I've done, right? Time and time again, every day, people come into my chat and they say, man, I can't get into a key. They're high eye level, they have decent Raider IO, all this sort of stuff, but they're not playing keys. And I think this is where the original argument falls back to. I think there needs to be a point, and we're not talking about the whole Billy Law thing anymore, chat, just so we're all on the same page. I think there needs to be an element of where we accept responsibility a little bit as players, where people can do keys. They can do 20 keys on any class.
Why would you ever take a risk with somebody who's not playing a meta comp?
So how do you fix that? How does Blizzard, if balancing is good, we're not talking about a time where
let me explain how I think they should fix it.
Sure.
So the way that I think they should fix it is they probably should make Mythic Plus dungeons and Mythic Plus keys shorter in time, because the longer amount of time that you're going to be locked in for, the more you're going to gatekeep, because you value more time at a higher rate. So logically, that's number one. And number two,
you don't think anyone would disagree with that? Can we go one point at a time, just because I'm ADHD as fuck?
Absolutely, I think people would disagree with it. And I think that with any decision that anybody makes on anything, there will be people that disagree with it. But just because some people disagree with something doesn't make it wrong. So I think that the point is that creating punishing outcomes makes players avoid being punished. And the way that
I can't agree with the shortening. I can agree with the no time on keys. That I can agree with in a big way. I think that would be great.
Yes. Okay. So shorter keys, that's number one. And number two, I think they should remove depleting keys. I think it serves no purpose.
depleting keys.
Yeah, you should not
I
be
think
able
there
to
should.
deplete a key.
People are going to think I'm memeing. I think there should be way harsher punishments for leaving a key. And I think that if someone disconnects, the timer should stop.
But why? But why is it? Why? But so this is you couldn't make that work because then you could disconnect.
I know.
Yeah.
But we're living in fantasy land right now, making up things.
And
right?
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But do you understand the reason why there needs to be harsher punishments for leaving a key? Is because there's harsher punishments for failing a key, and if there were not harsher punishments for failing a key, you wouldn't need harsher punishments for leaving a key.
And I said that I agree. I think that not having a timer would be rad, right? This non-deplete thing. I think it would be a cool change. The problem is, and this goes back to our original argument, I don't think you and I can make that decision. We would need to have a room full of people that aren't our chats, that also play the game in fairness, at a much higher level than you and I play the game these days. Right?
So why would
make
we
those
need
decisions?
That? I don't agree
because
with that
I feel like for me as a player, I'm not really heavily invested in Mythic Plus anymore. And I think it would be wrong for me to think. Sorry.
So I completely disagree on the foundation of this. I totally think that it's a bad idea to base what you're making a change for in the game off of the opinions of people that are clearing plus 30s. These are the 0.01%.
Oh, no, that's what I'm not saying at all. I don't think that I've said this to you plenty of times over the years. I don't think we cater to the game to the 0.001%.
But that is what you said. You said that it shouldn't be my decision or your decision. It should be people that are way ahead of us in terms of progress, right?
Not even just progress, just that play the game more. I don't do enough keys. I do like one key a week, and that's it. Right?
Okay, so then how many keys do you think the average person does a week?
More than one, if they like Mythic Plus, right?
Well, wouldn't the goal be to get more people to do Mythic Plus? I think that most people probably just do one key or one or zero keys. Yeah, I think that if like...
So, you think overall, you genuinely think the overall consensus right now, outside of, I'm not talking... Let's exclude God Comp. Let's talk about 20 keys and under.
Sure.
You really think that Mythic Plus is in a really bad state right now? Because I don't think it is.
I don't know if it is or not. And so that's the point that I'm making, right? And you were the one that brought up the example of Mythic Plus being in a bad state. And I don't know if that's really true or not. I really haven't done it a lot. And even whenever I do, I have a warped experience because like I'm a noteworthy person in the community. So people will adapt how they react to me differently. So what I'm saying, however, is that even if Mythic Plus is in a good state, wouldn't these changes make it in a better state? Because would you agree that Mythic Plus was better in Legion? I had a lot more fun.
I think fundamentally, I think dungeons like more of Souls are king. I would love to. I think the affixes right now are horrible.
At the end of the day, what is it about if it's not for fun?
Well, I mean, look, I could say the same thing across all games. I think I don't want to go down this road, but I think Diablo 4, the big thing that they took away is they needed to find a middle ground between PoE and Diablo 3. And I think when they nerfed the leveling experience and they nerfed mob density, it took away the fun aspect of the game. Right? We could talk about the anti-fun aspects of many games for hours and hours and hours, right? D4, not good. I don't think many people are going to disagree. Yeah. I say that as someone, I've Diablo 3 or Diablo 2 tattooed on my knee. I've loved that game for years. You know what I mean? Diablo 4 is not in a good place.
Right. And again, like the solutions that Diablo 4 had and the things that players wanted, like whenever you introduce, for example, and you have to assume that whenever Blizzard introduced that one patch in Diablo 4 that everybody hated, and then they came out and they did a public apology stream for it, it's kind of obvious that they misjudged what they were supposed to do. And it's because they reverted a lot of the changes. So like, I think this goes back to what I was saying, that I actually don't have any trust in Blizzard's credibility as an authority on understanding what their player base wants on a level that you or I don't have. I don't think that they have any better
Diablo, I'm not going to disagree. But I think
what do you think they're using a different type of
I think it's different teams. I think it's different teams of people. But again,
I don't think so.
Look, I'll say this. I would hate to be in Blizzard's position. And I say that as someone, if you gave me $100 million right now and said, hey, you have to invest this money into a game, and I hate saying this, I really, really do, because it hurts, right? I wouldn't put that money into an MMORPG. Because I don't think the player base of MMORPGs, for the most part these days, know what the fuck we want at all. right? I really don't. And I think that that's a much bigger conversation. But I think MMORPGs right now are in a horrible place. I think for the most part, the conversation sways so back and forth, whether people want the game to be grindy, whether or not people want the game not to be grindy. It's too hard to gear. It's too easy to gear. I want WoW to be seasonal. I want other games to be seasonal. Final Fantasy's main story quest line takes too long. I don't want to talk to some cat for 17 fucking hours before I can do a dungeon. Right? It is an impossible market these days, in my opinion, right, to try and find a balance. And I would hate to fucking work for Blizzard and try and be the person that has to come up with systems that tries to make everyone in this genre happy. But at the same time, to play devil's advocate for my own conversation, I don't get paid a lot of money to do that.
Well, I don't know what the fuck, man. Like, this is the second time my shit got fucked. I don't know what this is. Tonight, I might have to have somebody come over and get this shit fixed. Yeah, hearts in chat for Panda for coming on and talking about everything, too, by the way. I do appreciate it.